Welcome to Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. On this podcast, we bring the conversation to you, sharing engaging stories that motivate and build consensus in the nonprofit community. This podcast is about the innovators, the leaders on the front line of adversity, guiding lights in the nonprofit industry affecting change. And through their stories, we can all join forces to become Civic Warriors. Welcome to the Witham Civic Warriors podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Khafre Jay, who's the founder and executive director of an awesome not-for-profit named Hip Hop for Change. And Hip Hop for Change is an organization based out of California that uses grassroots activism to educate people about socioeconomic injustices and advocate solutions through hip hop culture. They raise funds for local causes that enrich marginalized and historically oppressed communities. So welcome to the show, Khafre. We're really happy to have you here.
Yo, thank you, Brad, so much for extending the platform. You know, we're fighting to get our word out there, so I really appreciate this, man.
Maybe you could start out, tell us a little bit about yourself, what drove you to start the organization, and then share a little bit more about Hip Hop for Change.
Absolutely. I'm a Black man. It's my culture. I'm also hip hop culture. And a lot of people don't understand hip hop past it being a musical form. But hip hop is actually my culture. It's how I walk, talk, dress, paint, act, dance, think. It's also rap music. Every culture has, musical elements as well. So I've been hip hop since before I knew what hip hop was. And hip hop formed a lot of the ways that I interact with my community. And to be straight up, kids in America, at least, are either hip hop cultured or hip hop curious. So hip hop, it was big for me, being a young Black man trying to find my self-worth, right? My self-esteem, my efficacy in life, not seeing that reflected in my curriculums or in mass media, So hip hop, it has this tiny nugget of self-affirmation that's just ingrained in it. So a lot of kids coming from backgrounds like mine, where we have less access to art classes and things. That's why hip hop, really takes us. And it took me, allowed me the time and the introspection to really find myself, And I think the biggest reason why I started Hip Hop for Change is because right now, the culture of hip hop isn't controlled by the community anymore. It's controlled by three corporations, Time, Sony, and Universal. They own about 90% of the platform that perpetuates hip hop, and they only care about money. And historically, Black people have never had enough money to dictate how we look in mass media. So not only are we being misrepresented, because 75% of hip hop is bought by suburban white college-age men, who probably aren't investing in women that are empowered, rapping about their lives mattering. It doesn't mean we don't have them in our culture. It just means we're struggling as a culture to see our most beautiful selves, our most powerful voices, in lieu of, suburban, mostly white men buying our most disempowered voices. I tend to think they buy what they believe, and there's a lot of stereotypes about who we are. But more importantly than that, I think kids who are hip hop just need to have access to this healthy expression. They need to have access to these empowered voices spitting the positivity that makes up the majority of our culture. They need to be able to see themselves. So that's what we're fighting for here.
Love it. I mean, you bring up a lot of good points. I think ignorance is a lot of it when it comes to the people controlling the monetary system. I think a lot of people they don't understand, they didn't grow up with it. They didn't work with it. They didn't live with it. It's not personally relevant always to them. And so, and if they're the ones that are controlling all of the media, controlling all of the dollars that go to it, yeah, they're less inclined because they don't feel it. They don't feel the same thing that you feel. They don't have the same passion for it. And I think it's an injustice. I think it's a problem. And I think it's something that with you and the voice and the message you're trying to get out, I think you're certainly having an impact. And certainly there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are going to learn a lot of things that they probably took for granted or didn't fully understand.
I would just add on top of that, we don't get mad at Mexican people because Taco Bell is crappy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not their fault. But that's what we're doing with hip hop. We're getting mad at Black and brown people and hip hop culture because the media is only investing in these pathological narratives. I mean, all media is sex, drugs, or violence in America, but hip hop is connected to Blackness. And it's another way to otherize us. They say, oh, why are y'all being so misogynistic? When every part of media is rooted in patriarchy and misogyny, you know what I'm saying? And it's just terrible because every community has misogynists, jerks, violent people. But no community other than the Black community has massive billion-dollar corporations that are just invested in sharing just the worst people in our community or just the most stereotypically relevant people in our community like Black people have. And it's really killing us. When I walk through the liberal streets of Berkeley, if I'm not walking with my daughter, I look hip hop. And other people with children, they grab their babies. Most people with babies grab their babies when they pass me because I'm wearing a hoodie and a hat that's cocked to the side and some J's. And I tell people sometimes I don't eat babies. You're babysitting.
Yeah, right.
And that's just because we're more segregated than we've ever been in the history of America. 70% of white people report to not have any friends of color, let alone a hood hip hop black dude like myself. You know what I'm saying? But they do have media representations and they do have empowered opinions. I would love for the community to be able to control hip hop and how hip hop looks. Because when we did, the number one song in the nation in 1991 was Public Enemy Fight the Power, right? And that had a 70% white audience too, and what else do we want from folks other than to know us? So it's not a problem that white people are in hip hop. I mean, the principles of hip hop are peace, love, unity, and having fun. Everybody's welcome. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we have to make sure that the people who understand the cultural values, the cultural norms, and who's really dope, you know what I'm saying, who's really powerful, they're the ones in control of passing out the paychecks. Because that's essentially the biggest thing about this. It's not just our creative expression. This is a $7 billion industry. That's our money. You know what I'm saying? It's our money. So why do we have the most genius, empowered people struggling to even make enough money at crappy jobs where they're not geniuses to hopefully have enough energy after the end of the shift to go produce hip hop that's so essential for the development of our young children in our communities? That's what Hip Hop for Change is doing. We're really integrating our pathway of all the means of producing hip hop under a 501c3 community control platform that can get kids recorded, get kids produced, get kids learning engineering, get kids learning to put their graffiti on t-shirts and sell it, give kids jobs, teaching and educating, getting them fingerprinted, TB tested, trauma and trained, and employed as educators teaching hip hop. That's what we're doing here. And we're not stopping until we take our culture back. So if anybody wants to join the fight, man, hiphopforchange.org. Check us.
Yeah, and we encourage everyone to do that and just learn more. We've only known each other for a little bit, and already I'm more curious and already want to invest more just because I hear your message, and it's a lot of stuff that doesn't impact us every day. And I think the more and more we get that out there, the better. Coffee, when was the first time that you feel that you used hip hop as a vehicle for change or as a vehicle to start educating others? At what point did that transition from your love for hip hop to I can use this as a mechanism to change the world?
Well, I started working as a paraprofessional when I was like 19, 20, you know what I'm saying? I used to work with kids in San Francisco after school programs where their parents got ESL classes. And kids always loved rap and whatnot. So I was rapping about positivity. So I would do all kind of stuff with the kids. But I think it wasn't until I worked at Trinity Youth Services, a level 12 group home up north in Ukiah. And, I was like, Ukiah is the middle of nowhere. It's like 100 miles north of San Francisco. I was like one of the only black people in this town. And I was pretty much one of 3 black people that worked at this huge group home that housed almost 100 kids coming from foster placements or juvenile detention. And, those kids really resonated with me because I was from their hood. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I knew some of their uncles and stuff like that, and I was the only cat there that worked there that really understood them. And all these kids were rapping, you know what I'm saying? And there's one kid in there, dude's amazing. He was just an amazing rapper, but he was rapping about, the stuff that he saw in his community in East Palo Alto. He was rapping about his life. And hip hop, it is something that we use to speak our experiences and our stories, but it's about how we do that, So once he started hearing me rapping positive about hood life, that really resonated with him. And we were just freestyling and rapping all over. And I remember he always said, you always rap that positive, write some gangster stuff. I even wrote a song for him called You Want Me to Be a Gangster, Huh? And it was all me faking gangster stuff. And I was like, yo, I could do that, Anybody can tell stories, but I think he had this iMac. He was the only kid in the group home with the iMac and had GarageBand the first year it came out. So I taught him to use GarageBand and I got him rapping more and more positive. And it really touched him. I think that was the first time I saw the effects in a real tangible way that, hey, I can literally use this hip hop stuff and show this kid, this man who's going on tours and stuff like that, doing all this thing, that you can be in your own space, speaking your own story and actually speaking to your desire to empower yourself rather than, just the stuff you're dealing with. That really resonated with me, man. And once I got a chance to start Hip Hop for Change about 10 years after that, it was a no-brainer for me.
I imagine that young man just felt empowered. You gave him the confidence to do it.
I mean, I'll break it down. Hip Hop for Change, we use hip hop pedagogy in a number of
Yeah.
ways. Everything from teaching environmentalism and ecology with Parks California and East Bay Regional, Presidio Trust. We're building an autism class right now, actually working with folks with hip hop on the spectrum. It's just really important, especially when you're dealing with minority communities, not to just teach them, but to show them that they can be in your position, to show them that you can be that empowered voice looking like you are. And, that's another thing. Teachers hit us up like, yo, how can we use hip hop pedagogy if we're not hip hop? We even teach D&I classes for teachers how to be a teacher that brings hip hop into the class, but not lead the way, let your children lead the way. And a lot of teachers say, man, I've never seen these kids so focused. And I'm like, you probably never used their culture before.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest part of it is that we think we know because we watch TV or something. It's like, that's the complete opposite of what you should know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it just works. And I think a lot of people, when they really start to understand what hip hop is, they see it as a vehicle for information. You know what I'm saying? You get kids breakdancing, you know what I'm saying? Every kid wants to breakdance. I still wanted to learn how to do a windmill myself, but now these kids are getting stronger neuromuscular junctions, proprioception, vestibular sense. Now half the kids are talking about being vegan and working out. Like, that's just information. That's the way we pass it through our culture, whether you're dealing with graffiti and people are talking about chiaroscuro and perspective and things like this. This is how we do it. And to make sure these kids know it's not just painting on a wall, but you can understand that every graphic design student is learning graffiti. Right? You can understand where you fit into the capital structure of the world, and you can make it with your own culture, right? You can go teach a graffiti class. You can go graffiti people's offices or their rooms. You can do murals. These kids not only need to know that their art form is valid and important for their growth and their building, but they also need to understand that there's a business to this too. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to directly lift up our culture, get kids connected to it, getting them empowered with it, but then also show them how they can make it with that and how they can succeed and be successful and pass that on to the next generation. That's essential for us right now.
Yeah, that pay it forward concept, this model you're creating and what you're building for your community, I think is help the lives of the next generation and the next generation thereafter at. And I did, in advance of this, I was poking around. I saw your TEDx speech.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard your food justice rap and Robin Hood tax rap. I was like, that was legit.
Right on, man. So I have a history of doing these kind of like rhymes. I think it started off when I was in international relations at SF State. And I was like, yo, I'm not doing a paper for my final project. I did a rap. I highlighted this organization called Skatistan that was girls in Afghanistan. This weird intersection where they can't play soccer when they get above, 8, 9, 10, 11, because it's not feminine. But they don't really get skateboarding yet. So women can actually skateboard. And I love them. So I did this little sneak attack piece on them. I've done that for a bunch of other organizations like Greenpeace and whatnot. That food justice song I wrote for an organization called Planting Justice that works with former incarcerated people and gives them jobs building gardens in the hood and food deserts. And so people have hit me up. I did a performance of the Climate Music Project for the Global Climate Summit. I've done songs for the Robin Hood tax, like you saw in that thing. Like, it's just fun. I work with organizations. I'll take their mission statements and I just put them in the bars. It's just fun.
How long does it take you to do something like that?
It depends. If I'm writing something that is just like off my head, it could take days. You know what I'm saying? Like first draft, second draft, third draft, making sure my syllabic intonation is actually hitting. That's the one thing about rhyming. It's taking a 4/4 time signature and using the syllable and how you put emphasis in certain syllables and how those syllables dance syncopatedly over that 4/4 time signature. So you're really working on the da with your words. So it's not just the meanings, but it's also how it hits. If I'm just writing something just out of my head, sometimes it could take 30 minutes to write a 2-minute, to write a 16 bar or something like that. But usually when I'm writing for an organization, it's a lot more than that. It's akin to writing a report. So I'd pour over their mission statements, some of the stuff that they're working on, things like that. And it's literally like writing a report. You got a thesis statement, you know what I'm saying? You got a main point that sometimes is your chorus, sometimes it's not. And you have to kind of build the structure of your rhyme. A lot of the times when I'm working with an organization, I'll try to do things in a problem solution victory format where the first part of the rhyme is about the issue at hand and then how we have to fix it. And then the second verse will be about what the organization is actually doing to accomplish that. You got to get your structure. Then you turn on your beat and, you can kind of block out your ideas and then you got to put them in a rhyme form. And that's it's a little bit different, but it's just akin to writing a report.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not a skill I've ever developed. I read Dr. Seuss. That's about it.
I got your back, man. I actually teach rap classes and freestyle classes for all ages. I actually start them off saying, I'm going to prove you can freestyle in 2 minutes. And the reason you think you can't is because of white supremacy.
Right.
That's how I start my rap class. And that's
Nice.
the reason why, a lot of people in class, people are like, let's do poetry, right? And everybody's like, when the teacher says, let's write poems, some people are like, I don't like poetry, but no one says, oh, I don't think I can do a poem, right? No one says that, right? But when people engage in hip hop culture, a lot of times people think in order to rap, I got to like grab my genitals, I got to slouch, I got to think really badly about women, and then I got to think I'm the dopest thing that ever seen the face of the planet. And if I can't embody that space, then I don't have the right to try to freestyle my heart out. And that comes from all these tropes and stereotypes that the industry has put forth, because most of our culture is not like that. You know what I'm saying? If you go to the cypher and freestyle, like, you get to go. It's about trying your hardest. And I was teaching a class one time. It was a predominantly Black and Latino class. And there was this one short, like, white kid in the corner who was like really quiet. And I always try to get everybody to rap in the class, and towards the end of the class, he was like, all right, I'll do it. And he got up. And mind you, in that class, there's these 3 Black kids that they're the known rappers in the class, right? So they just knew they had this in a bag, right? And they busted their raps. And this one little, meek kid, he gets up and he's going, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but damn it, I'm going to try. And he just rapped 8 bars and him being like, I'm out of my element, but I'm going for it. And when he finished, the entire class erupted, right? They started slapping him on his back harder than he even wanted to be slapped, but he won the cypher. And those 3 kids in the corner, they could not believe it because they didn't get standing ovations. And a lot of people don't get that about hip hop. They think hip hop is about you being the hardest, I shoot you, or whatever this space they think Black people are trying to elevate. That's not what we're elevating. What we're elevating is the number one thing and the only rule in hip hop is keep it real. And that kid kept it realer than anybody in that whole space. That's why he won. So if you come in here saying, I can't rap, but I'm going to try, you can win too. And that's all hip hop is about. You know what I'm saying? Anything short of that is just white supremacist stereotypes of what it takes to be a hip hop person.
You got to try it. You got to accept it. And you got to be you. And I think that the key, keep it real concept, I think, is so necessary in everything you do. And especially in, as you said, in education, like keep people authentic to who they are. I think is so important to just succeeding because you want to be yourself. You don't want to just go be someone else's stereotype or someone else's conformist. It doesn't work.
That's the problem, because when I was trying to figure out my base of self-worth was right when gangster rap started getting out there,
Yeah.
So I was like learning how to treat women, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm learning how to stand up for myself. And I'm being bombarded with these false ideas about what it means to be hard. Not only that, we got all these rappers that are literally lying about what they do. Now, if we controlled our community, they would be like, I wouldn't say excommunicated, you know what I'm saying? But they'd be put in place. People keep it real in the culture. So we have all these kids that are seeing nothing but lies, right? And they're trying to emulate those lies. It takes people so long to get over our trauma as people of color just by itself, let alone this conditioning that we see on a daily basis of what it takes to be a strong man, you know what I'm saying? Or what it takes to be a strong woman or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing that's important. When we have these kids trying to find out how they feel about police brutality or how they feel about, going to crappy schools or how they feel about the country, but they're rapping about stuff that has no relevancy to that. If I was rhyming at 15 about police brutality, I would know how I would feel faster because I got beaten up at gunpoint twice by the SFPD before I was 17. You know what I'm saying? Like they destroyed me. And I was rapping about stuff that didn't help me with that. You know what I'm saying? So if we were able to control our culture and put the real savants, the real prophets that we have up, they would have helped me deal with the stuff that I was dealing with at a younger age. And I wonder where I'd be right now with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that the number one force that drives our children's education is controlled by the community and not 3 corporations that only care about money from suburban white men. It's just got to change.
Obviously with your not-for-profit, you're doing that in a variety of ways. You have some awesome goals. You're getting the message out. Talk a little bit about where Hip Hop for Change is going.
Well, Hip Hop for Change is built off a grassroots street fundraising model. I was the first Black city coordinator for Greenpeace in their 2000 fundraising push. I ran the entire Bay Area street team. So I took that street model. We've employed over 1,000 people with a living wage, access to healthcare, mental health services, and employee development to go into white affluent neighborhoods talking about the co-optation of hip hop. And getting paid to become activists, the same principal practices that Rosa Parks and Ida B. Wells and Medgar Evers did. So people are learning how to be empowered people in neighborhoods they've never really felt comfortable. That's where we get most of our funding from, and we bring that back to the hood as our kind of Robin Hood theory. So we've taught 27,000 kids K through 12. Half of those kids have been taught for free since we don't turn down, Title I schools or broke brown organizations that need it. That doesn't sound very hip hop to me. And to teach, we actually get local artists fingerprinted, TB tested, trauma informed, and employed going into these workshops, teaching experiential classes so these kids understand the culture and also how to practice it for, positive, healthy outcomes. Other than that, we throw the fattest progressive hip hop shows in the Bay Area and around the nation too. I mean, we're always centering our events around social justice. So every year we're having women's empowerment summits, things like that. Our environmental justice summit, where we get Sierra Club, 350.org, Surfrider Foundation, California Arts Council to put up the money for it. And then last year we booked Black Thought and Dead Prez and Sal Rock. And it's a free all ages show for everybody. Hip hop started out with free park jams. So we're trying to bring that culture back. And it's not like Greenpeace and Sierra Club get to say anything. We actually invite all the local environmental justice orgs to come that can actually connect with the people there that are working on stuff in their backyards, So we have this really cool event that also always has a panel discussion. Last year we had Matthew Tejada from the EPA Environmental Justice Office. The year before that, we had Ilhan Omar's daughter on our panel, speaking truth to power. So hip hop for us is a vehicle for knowledge, for empowerment, for addressing some of our biggest social ills. And not only that, we can give paychecks to all the local hip hop artists to rock. Because right now, the way it works, there's like 3 party companies in the Bay that throw all the shows, and they don't care about the culture. So they bring Uzi Vert or Lil Yachty out here or put artists in there, and they don't care about DJs, they don't care about openers, they don't care about the violence, they don't care about any of that. When we throw shows, we're putting on different artists. You got people breakdancing, we got people playing chess on stage, we've got people vending food out there. There's a whole economy that we're trying to create. So essentially our number one job is to take money from those that have it and use it to empower the hip hop community. Number one, to make sure we can teach our kids who we are, how powerful they are, but we can take the economy back and build that and show people how to make money off this culture in a self-determinative way. That's it. So
love it.
I'm gung-ho about this. Not only that, but we started out with this kind of first phase where we're doing the education, we're trying to empower, throwing events and shows. Now we're in our second phase where we are building a studio that's going to be free for youth under 24. We got an art annex in San Francisco where we're going to be using graffiti practices and getting kids screen printing their designs and learning that, and also doing videography and things like that. We're building back the means of producing hip hop now, so kids can produce their albums for free. We've got a program called Pipelines to Positivity where we're working with, formerly incarcerated youth, foster youth, systems impacted youth. And we're giving them free opportunities to either become, fully funded artists, or fully funded engineers, graphic designers, videographers. This is the next phase to make sure that not only are we showing people what hip hop is and we're giving them opportunities to get paid, but we're also showing them how to produce it and make their own businesses within hip hop. So, we're really ready to take the game back. We're about to expand and open our LA office, then New York, then Chicago, then DC, Baltimore, Philly, Miami-Dade. I'm literally about to spread over this country like a plague. If I can get folks like you and everybody to get behind this and join the fight for our culture. So watch out for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to hear a lot more about you soon. I think you have a positive message. You have a lot you're working towards, a lot you've already done, and really, now it's just how do you get there? And I think you have all the right pieces in place. What do you need to make it happen? What do you need to build your empire?
This is my first business, man. So when I started, I had a clipboard with one sheet of paper that said, "We're going to save the world." I stayed on hate street, like Greenpeace. And I raised 26 grand my first year by myself. And then I got coworkers, 183 grand the next year, then 3 something and 5 something. And last year, at the start of the pandemic, we broke 909. This year, looks like we're going to have our first $1 million year. And I've been struggling to make sure we're taking hats off and hiring new people and whatnot. We even grew during the pandemic. We were running a 50% underwater budget. The government worked right with the PPP loans for once. Yay. But, next year is going to be the hardest year of our lives. It's the year that we're going to go from realizing our model, our full potential, to actually trying to execute that without a CFO or a COO. You know what I'm saying? Without a lot of the funding. And I'm looking at a projected budget that's going to be 150% bigger than last year's budget. If I can do everything that I need to do, I have to raise $2.5 million this next year. Yeah. And I'm just a dude from the hood. And, it's kind of interesting that I'm intimidated by that, and if you're not intimidated by your dreams, you're not dreaming big enough. But I have this kind of, I'm really confident in our team. I'm confident in our model. The only thing that we need is social capital. White supremacy, second to our lives, kills our social capital more than anything else. That's why you can have a white nonprofit director come to the hood, start a nonprofit, and in 2 years they're fully funded. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot harder for Black-led nonprofits who, across the sector, have 52 or 56% less money on hand and about 70-something% less money in savings. So, I imagine what I could do with 44% more money. You know what I'm saying? I'd probably already be in LA. So Right now, I'm just working to get in spaces like this, man. That's why I really appreciate you extending your platform, because we just need to be heard. Like, we really need to get out there. I need everybody to know that this is a thing, because essentially most people hate hip hop and how it looks in mass media, and they understand the impacts. I need everybody who feels that way to become a monthly donor at Hip Hop for Change, just $8 or more, like $2 a week. It's like Netflix, but the babies get to chill. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't like the way hip hop is being portrayed for any reason, this is the shot. This is the chance. We've got the model. We've got the structure. And we've got something that 99% of everybody who hears about it understands its importance and worth instantly. You know what I'm saying? So my biggest job as executive director is to just make sure that everybody's getting paid here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been struggling through this whole COVID thing, and a lot of justice was funded. A lot of Black justice was funded in 2020 and 2021, but not Black arts. Black arts was the lowest funded sector of any of this, philanthropy money that was going out last year and the year before, and historically. And that's the thing. I always tell people we're fighting for justice. I, as a Black man, I cannot bet on if white America is going to save my life next year. I can't I don't have enough chips to put down on the table anyway. I'm not going to bet on that. But I'm not going to bet on police reform anytime soon. Like, I'll fight for it, but I can't bet my hopes on that anytime soon, because we're actually backsliding as a democracy right now. But what we can bet on is healing for Black people, right? I can bank on my healing. If I put $1 into mental health, that'll automatically help a Black person out, period, right? But also, healing is art and expression, you know what I'm saying? Healing also is seeing people express, seeing the stuff that gets those ancestral Shaka Zulu drums coming out, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's so important. So I'm just asking everybody who wants to support Black movements and Black people, of course, think about justice, but think about healing. Healing is really the only thing Black people can guarantee that'll work for us. So please don't forget about Black arts. Please donate, support the Black arts. And if you need somebody to donate to, Hip Hop for Change will use your dollar better than anybody in my mind. And I am a little biased, but it's good.
Yeah, you need to be.
Yeah, I believe in us, man.
Yeah. So if I want to donate to you, how do I do that? How do I make that happen?
You can go to the website, hiphopforchange.org, hiphop4change, FOR. We got the number 4 too if you need it. And you can donate any amount, man, to $1 and $1 million. But our monthly donors are the things that really keep us stable, right? We started the pandemic with about, I'd say, almost 70% of our payroll covered by monthly donors and monthly supporters. Right now, we're under about we're under 30% of our supporters being funded with our monthly donors, because we lost our grassroots street team during the pandemic and people went through hardship. So right now we're going to make it. We're going to make it. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to shut down, but my biggest thing is to make sure that we can afford all the new leadership that we've gotten during the pandemic, and we don't miss a beat. So I do need people to donate monthly. And it's really easy for people who are broke like me to donate a couple of dollars a week, or a few dollars a month. So anything $8 or more, you can do that on our website. We also have really cool swag. So we got white supremacy hoodies and white supremacy shirts and all kind of other things, and that all goes to supporting the work. But just I say as well, like share our stuff out, subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram if you do that stuff, and just share it, because we just need people to know we exist, and that's it. And if we can get people to know we're here, we'll be fine.
From the second I met you, I know you're making a difference, and you're going to make a bigger difference tomorrow and the next day. So, I think it's phenomenal that you're doing what you're doing and you're making it happen, and you have the courage to do that. Not everybody goes out on that limb and says, what, next year I'm going to raise $1.5 million. The next year I'm going to raise $2 million. The next year I'm going to raise $3 million. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to change the entire system. Well, and that's why you're making it happen.
I'm stuck now, man. I'm stuck. I don't know.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you got to keep making that go.
After you see a room full of second graders trying to rap battle or break dance, it's like, what?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm also grateful because, running an organization like ours, I've learned so much on how to be a good man, you know what I'm saying? A good leader in the last 8 years. I'm thankful for that as well. But yeah, man, I'm stuck. This is the most inspirational thing I've ever seen in my life. This is also, people say, oh, be careful, you'll burn out. I'm like, dude, I was burnt out when I realized I was a black man at 13. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my only shot, too. I've never, ever had a shot like this. So, I know this is really only relevant to myself, but man, I just got asked to write a foreword for a book, somebody who was working at the Obama administration. Like, put a tear in my eye. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I've been lectured at Tulane and Stanford. Like, I'm baffled. I'm just blowing my mind. I'm just a dude from the hood. You know what I'm saying? I'm a dude from the hood. And the one thing about that is my parents raised me to know nothing is promised. Nothing, and everything can be taken away from you in a second. So, you have to hustle. There is no safety net. Us as your parents who are in your life stable, they could be taken from us. And so this is the only shot I got at taking care of my daughter and making sure she has a lemon tree in the backyard, but more importantly than this is also the only chance I've ever seen for the community I've grown up in, the hip hop community, for us not to be just dying slowly trying to produce the genius that we have. So I'm stuck, man. I'm stuck morally. I'm stuck financially. And this is also my love right here. So I see what we do. I see the kids and how they resonate, when they learn that, hey, I can actually start a business with this. And I don't even know if anybody could pay me enough to leave hip hop for change. So, so I'm here. I just want everybody else to come here with me. Let's ride.
Love your message. Love what you're trying to do. Love what you're going to do. I think all in the right direction. And at the end of the day, I want everyone to just hear it, listen, go to your website, check them out, go to their YouTube channel, go to LinkedIn, just see what they're about. Now, I guarantee you'll see what I see and you'll resonate with it. And the least you can do is donate a couple dollars at the end of the day. That's the least anybody can do. So awesome. Appreciate your time, Coffee. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being on the show, sharing your message, and honestly, looking forward to chatting in the future and hearing about your $2 million budget next year.
Right on, man. I'll be here.